Hello guys, welcome back to another video. I know it's been a while since I last uploaded. I've been really busy with school. It's almost the end of the semester, so I've had to just do a lot of finals. So I'm almost done with all my finals. I just need about one more final to go and I should be good. So with that, rankings came out and I was checking out my rankings and I'm number 18 in the world. And I'm really happy about that. I want to thank everyone in my community. They all helped me build teams, test out teams. Uh, we help each other through a lot of PvP practices that we invite as many people to come out. The more people that come out, the better. Even people that actually don't know how to play, we encourage a lot of that too. As even if you don't know how to play, it really helps because not only would you be able to learn by just battling, it also helps me test out some Pokemon and see out what people use, and I can also help them out with their teams. So I want to thank everyone for doing that. And without further ado, this whole entire video is going to be about the Kingdom Cup tournament that I attended last Saturday. So this is my team that I decided to use. It is Combusken, Bastiodon, Lapras, Altaria, Blaziken, and Steelix. I really want to test out. This is actually the first time I used Combusken. Me and my friend, we actually did a couple simulations with Combusken, and it performed really well with some things. And if people don't know what to expect, Combusken can actually really do a lot of damage. Ember beats Lucario, no shields, so you get to just save energy. You would just need to waste one shield against the power up punch. But apart from that, you get to have energy, and it's actually surprisingly bulky. Then I decided to use Bastiodon. Bastiodon gets rid of all the flying types, gets rid of Altaria, lets you farm energy, and so with that, it also gets rid of all the ice types that isn't Lapras. So it's very helpful in what it can do. So I decided to use it. Uh, then you have Lapras. Lapras was a pretty decent Pokemon too. I decided to use it because it is very helpful with Water Gun, Surf, and Ice Beam. So with Water Gun and Surf, you're able to spam out Surf. Basically, like I think about every 20 seconds or so, you get to have a Surf. I might be a little wrong with that, but it's very spammable. It lets you just use Surf all the time, which is actually very good and helps a lot. Next is Altaria. Altaria gets rid of all the fighting types. It also, with energy advantage, it beats out other Altarias. And it can also beat out Lapras as well with energy advantage. And so it's very good. It's a good pivot Pokemon too. It also gets rid of things like Alolan Marowak. It really helps overall. Then you have Blaziken. So this was my mistake. I was thinking of using a Lucario instead of the Blaziken, but I decided to say, you know what, I've been using Blaziken all my practices, let me use it. Um, I really wanted a counter user to get rid of like all the steel types and Bastiodon specifically. And really, I should have just used Lucario. The extra steel type in the Lucario gives is actually better than having another firefighting. Combusken is also firefighting, so those two share the same disadvantage. So it really hinders me since none of them are distinguishable, at least in terms of typing. So while Lucario, yes, also has the power up punch, which is also very meta defying, I actually much rather prefer that extra steel typing because it really would have helped in some of my matches. But I decided to use Blaziken. Blaziken's one of my favorite Pokemon, so I decided to use it. And then finally, Steelix. Steelix beats out Bastiodon because people normally tend not to shield with their Bastiodon, so you're able to surprise them with Steelix almost one-shotting Bastiodon with Earthquake. It also wins against Altaria, and it does decent damage to Lapras, so it can kind of win. And so this is my team that I decided to use with my Kingdom Cup. So next will be the battles. So my first opponent was Vic. Me and Vic, we tend to win and lose against each other a lot. So it's always been I win one time, he wins another time in terms of cups. So he's been able to consistently beat me in most of our cups, and I don't really like that. But so we got faced off for the first time. We are in the first round. And so he has Blaziken, Lapras, Celio, Magneton, Alolan Marowak, and Lucario. So that right there. So whenever you team build, you always want to see what is your pivot Pokemon. And when I mean by pivot Pokemon, I mean what Pokemon will you be switching into to be able to take care most of an opponent's Pokemon. So when I see Vic's team, I see that counter user, Blaziken, can get rid of Lapras, Celio, Magneton, and Lucario without any shields. Or at least them wasting one shield and I'm wasting one shield, and I'm able to do enough damage that I can almost kill them with a fast move. So that right there, I knew I had to bring in Blaziken. Blaziken was going to be my pivot Pokemon because it's able to deal with most of his team. Next, I need to cover up Blaziken's weakness. So most people would be using an Alolan Marowak to counter the counter users. So counter users are Blaziken and Lucario. So with that, I knew that either Lapras, Altaria, or Bastiodon had to go in to be able to save Blaziken. So knowing that, I also knew that Alolan Marowak tends to carry Bone Club and Shadow Ball. So because it has Bone Club, Bastiodon really won't be that good. Because Bastiodon, while yes, it's able to take about 4 or 5 Bone Clubs, and is able to kill out Alolan Marowak, if they bring in Lucario, Bastiodon is just gone. So I can't really do that. Also, Bastiodon gets walled out by Magneton and by Blaziken. So it is just not good in this cup. And I mean against my opponent's team. So the next would be Lapras. Well, Lapras beats out Blaziken. Lapras can bear out Alolan Marowak, but loses against Lucario and loses against Magneton if Magneton had Thunder Shock and Discharge, which Vic's Magneton did carry. So I knew Lapras just would not be good. It also gets walled out by Celio and gets walled out by the other Lapras. So it cannot do that. So the next would be Altaria. Well, Altaria gets rid of Alolan Marowak, gets rid of Lucario, and gets rid of Blaziken. Gets walled out by Magneton. If Celio's carrying Powder Snow and Aurora Beam, it loses against that. But if it's carrying Water Gun, then it can edge out and almost win if my Altaria has energy advantage. And then next would be Lapras. Well, most Laprases will be carrying Ice Beam, and most Laprases will be carrying Water Gun, which means if my Altaria had energy advantage, Altaria beats out Lapras. So with that, I'm like, okay, Altaria gets rid of the Alolan Marowak, the Lucario, and the Blaziken. So that gets rid of 3 of his Pokemon. So I knew Altaria had to come in to cover Blaziken's weakness. So with that, I knew Lapras, Celio, and Magneton are able to get rid of Altaria. So with that, I decided to use Combusken. With Combusken, Ember does super effective against Magneton, does super effective against Lucario, and like I mentioned before, Combusken, with no shields, beats Lucario. I don't even need to use a charge move, which means I get to save my charge move for either the Alolan Marowak, the Magneton, the Celio, the Lapras, or the Blaziken. Whatever he decides to switch in would have to take a charge move almost immediately. It also does decent against Lapras, and if Celio had Powder Snow, it can actually almost beat Celio. And it also almost defeats Magneton. So I knew I had to bring in Combusken. But this is where I said that having 2 fire fightings is bad. Because Lapras, with energy advantage, can get rid of both of Combusken and Blaziken before I'm even able to take it down. Now, if I had Lucario, because Surf does neutral damage against Lucario, not super effective, I would have been able to do better. So by not having Lucario, you'll see what I mean when we get into the battle. So finally, we're with the videos. I forgot to record the first match, so this is the second match that we did. So I decided to lead without Combusken, and he decided to lead out with Celio. So Celio had Water Gun, and that is just doing a good chunk to my Combusken. I knew that he was going to either use Body Slam or Aurora Beam, either or I can take the damage. And I knew I was going to be able to get a charge move, so I decided to use Rock Slide, hoping that was able to do enough damage to take him out, or waste a shield, and he did. Next, I decided to bring out Blaziken, and this is where I mean that if I had Lucario, it would have been better, because that Water Gun is doing super effective damage to my Blaziken, and I knew I was going to lose. Honestly, what I should have done was actually switch out to my Altaria first, and not my Blaziken. Because even if he had Aurora Beam, I'd still had 2 shields left, and I would have been able to take it. Next, we switch out to Magneton. Magneton easily beats Altaria. It resists Altaria's fast move and double resists Sky Attack and resists Dragon Pulse, which means Magneton is an amazing Pokemon to go against Altaria. So with that, I knew that my Altaria was lost. No point in wasting my shields. I just decided to let Altaria faint here. So I'd save my shield for the Blaziken for whatever fast move he was going to do. In the back, I had a feeling he had a Alolan Marowak, and I was right. And that right there, I lost. I knew I lost. Counter would do nothing. The Alolan Marowak is able to get a Bone Club out before I'm able to do anything, and that is the second game. So then we move on to the third game. I got my Sinnoh, because I haven't done my 3. So this time, I decided to, this is where I messed up. My gut said to lead out with Altaria, and this is where I learned for the third time to trust my gut. Because depending on how I led, I was able to win this game. So with that, I decided to last second switch out my Altaria lead with my Blaziken lead, and that really is going to bite me, as you can see. He leads out with a Alolan Marowak, and I'm like, dang it! If I would have led out with my Altaria, this would have been an easy match. I would have been able to win this. So I knew that I basically lost, because I'm going to lose my counter user, and if I switch out to Altaria, he's going to switch out to Magneton. So I knew I lost, basically. As you can see, he switched out to his Magneton, and I switched out to my Combusken. From our first game, I knew how much Combusken can do to Magneton, so I knew that Combusken can actually beat out Magneton, but he's able to do enough charge moves that he's just able to just melt right through me. And I had to waste both my shields, which sucks. So with my Combusken, I was able to just take everything out with my Rock Slide. I'm going to take out the Celio, and I knew that I lost right here. I'm like, well, that Alolan Marowak has the energy advantage, and I'm just going to lose, and that is game 3. And this is where I'm saying lead is important. So my next opponent is Only One Koala. So she doesn't really PvP a lot. This is actually her first cup, but she decided to start entering cups and start to enter a little bit of the PvP. And this is where I mean where even if you don't really know that much about PvP, you can still be pretty good. We helped out build her team. Between me and a couple of other people, we helped decide what is a good team for her to use and what to use. So with that, she has a Lapras, a Steelix, a Lucario, an Altaria, Sunny Day Castform, and a Alolan Marowak. So right here, I knew that my Blaziken is able to take out the Lucario, and take out the Steelix, and take out the Lapras. If I have energy advantage, I'm able to take out Lapras a lot faster, before Lapras can take me out. So with that, I knew Blaziken had to come. It's able to take out Lucario and Steelix, which would both be pretty bad. And it's also kind of able to take out Sunny Day Castform, since Sunny Day Castform most likely would run Ember and Weather Ball. And I resist both Ember and Weather Ball, so I can do a little bit of damage. So with that, I knew she would have to bring in a Alolan Marowak and Lapras to take out my counter user, which would be Blaziken. So with that again, I need to go out with Altaria. Altaria is able to take out Altaria with energy advantage. It's able to take out Alolan Marowak, and it's able to take out Lapras again with energy advantage and a shield to shield one Ice Beam. So then I decided to bring in Altaria. And then I saw the rest of my team. I'm like, well, Steelix could kind of do somewhat damage to Sunny Day Castform, but Ember and Weather Ball able to take me out. Lucario can take me out. Steelix can take me out. Can take out my Steelix, and Lapras can take out my Steelix. So I decided not to go with Steelix. I saw Bastiodon. Bastiodon can beat Lapras, can beat Altaria, can beat Sunny Day Castform, and can beat Alolan Marowak. Lose against Lucario, lose against Steelix. But because I knew that Bastiodon can take out about 4 of her 6 teams, I'm like, let me decide to use Bastiodon. And then I see Lapras. Lapras is able to take out Sunny Day Castform. Well, actually, Sunny Day Castform is actually surprisingly bulky here. So Lapras can kind of almost take out Sunny Day Castform. It can take out Alolan Marowak. loses against Lucario, can take out Steelix. Combuskin, again, like I said before, takes out Lucario, takes out Steelix. And so I knew that, Combuskin can help me out. So I decided to do a Blaziken, Altaria, and Lapras because that is able to answer most of her team. So on to the video. So this is our battle against only one koala. Only one koala is inexperienced, but just because someone's inexperienced doesn't mean you can underestimate them. Uh, that is the biggest losses are experienced players versus inexperienced players because the experienced players underestimate them, and you'll see what I mean that you shouldn't underestimate uh, inexperienced players. So I lead out with Blaziken. She leads out with Lola Marowak, and I knew that was a losing matchup. But again, this is where the inexperienced part of her comes into play. She decides to switch out, giving me a switch initiative, so I'm able to switch out whenever I want. So she switched out her Lapras against my Blaziken, and I knew I had to leave and go out to my Altaria. And I knew my Altaria was able to defeat her Lapras. So with that, I have Altaria. It defeats her Lapras, and now it's Altaria versus Sunny Day Castform. And I knew that, well, my Altaria gets to eat up Sunny Day Castform, and Sunny Day Castform eats up Altaria's hits. So it's just a back and forth. Maltaria versus her Sunny Day Castform, and Altaria's just there chipping damage. Castform is there chipping damage, and the Altaria is able to take out Sunny Day Castform with Sky Attack. So now her last Pokemon is Alola Marowak, and the Alola Marowak is able to take down my Altaria. And here I decided not to shield. I switch out Blaziken into the Alola Marowak. I didn't think the Alola Marowak had Shadow Ball. I knew I had Blood Club, and I decided to just leave my Blaziken just so I can get a Brave Bird off. So it is my Lapras versus the Alola Marowak, and the Lapras is basically able to beat out the Alola Marowak without even using Charge Move. So that was our first game. This is our second game. Again, I decided to lead out with Blaziken again. And she decided she decided to lead out with Lucario, and I knew this was a winning matchup against me. Blaziken wins against Lucario. Sorry. So with that, she has to switch out, or now she loses her Blaziken. So I switch out. She switches into Lapras, that beats out Blaziken, but then I switch out into Altaria, beating Lapras. So I didn't shield that first time because I knew that it was a Surf, not an Ice Beam. And here, I decided to shield because she might have had enough for Ice Beam, but she ended up using Surf, and that was kind of a waste of a shield when you really think about it. But honestly, it wasn't because I rather be safe than sorry. So here is where I'm saying that the Altaria versus an Altaria, the energy advantage Altaria wins. Because I'm able to basically just do enough where either she has to shield 2 times, so waste both her shields, or shield once, and then the next time, killing it. So, I knew that her last Pokemon was Blaziken, so I'm like, well, basically, both of my Pokemon are able to take out her Lucario. So, I decided to not waste a shield, because it was a waste of a shield, and I decided to bring out Lapras, and Lapras just basically cleans up the game. So our next opponent is RP0. RP0 is he's very good at PvP, so I knew not to underestimate him. And so me and him, we actually battle a lot and we practice a lot with a bunch of different teams. And so I knew going into this that it was going to be a tough match. So he has Alola Ninetales, Altaria, Steelix, Flygon, Lucario, and Bronzong. So from his team, I can already see that Blaziken gets rid of both his Steelix and Lucario. Combuskin can get rid of the Steelix. Doesn't do well against Flygon. Ember kind of does good damage to Bronzong, but Bronzong with Confusion beats out Combuskin and beats out Blaziken. And Combuskin can kind of beat Alolan Ninetales, even though Alolan Ninetales is able to get Side Shock really fast. The Ember would do a lot of damage. Then I had Bastiodon. I knew Bastiodon is good against Altaria, good against Alolan Ninetales. Can kind of defeat Bronzong. With energy advantage and no shields, beats out Lucario. Can beat out Lucario. And loses against Steelix and Flygon. Lapras does well against Steelix. Does decent against Flygon. Loses against Lucario. With energy advantage, can beat out Altaria. Does well against Bronzong. And does well against the little Ninetales. My Altaria does well against his Altaria with energy advantage with my Altaria. Altaria beats out Flygon with at least if I have one shield. Can beat out Lucario. Loses against Bronzong. Loses against Steelix and loses against Alolan Ninetales. Blaziken, I think I already discussed. And then Steelix can beat out Lucario, kind of does well against Flygon, kind of does well against Bronzong. Actually does pretty good against Bronzong. Can beat out Altaria, kind of, and kind of Alolan Ninetales. As you can see, with a lot of kind of, the Steelix isn't really good, apart from the Bronzong. So from looking at his team, I knew that Altaria answers a good majority of his team, along with Bastiodon and Blaziken. Blaziken defeat Lucario, can defeat Steelix, kind of almost defeats Alolan Ninetales, can do decent against Flygon, and loses against Altaria, as well as Bronzong. While my Bastiodon can get rid of his Alolan so, because I have Blaziken, I was going to use Bastiodon, because Bastiodon covers up Blaziken's weakness, like I said before. So Bastiodon gets rid of Altaria, and gets rid of the Alolan Ninetales, and can kind of go toe-to-toe with Bronzong. And so, knowing that Bastiodon loses against Lucario, Flygon, and Steelix, I decided to bring in Altaria. So Altaria beats out Flygon and can beat out Lucario. So with that, my first team I used against him was Altaria, Bastiodon, and Blaziken. With Altaria in my lead, Bastiodon in the back, and Blaziken in the back, to see if I can do any good. At this point in the tournament, I did have a cold. When the tournament started out, I was having a cold, and I decided not to take any breaks. And I really should have taken a break, because I do a couple misplays in this game against him, in these games against him, that maybe if I wasn't feeling so bad, maybe if I wasn't so tired, or if my brain wasn't on fire, I could have maybe done a little bit better. Again, I'm not underestimating RP0. He is a really good battler. I'm just saying maybe things could have played out a little differently. But again, I don't want to discourage my opponent. My opponent was still a very good battler. So I'm just saying this because there might be some plays some of you guys might be questioning, like, why did you do this instead of doing that? I'm going to discuss some of those plays, some of the things I could have done better. But I do want to let you guys know with that preface before we get into the battle with him. So, with my first battle, like I said, I had Altaria, Bastion, and Blaziken. So I let out with Altaria, and he leads out with Bronzong. So, I knew Altaria loses against Bronzong. We've tested out Bronzong a lot in most of our practices. So, he kind of knew how much Bronzong can take. I knew how much Bronzong could take. I was expecting him to use a fast move on Bronzong, but he didn't. So, when I saw that he brought out Alolan Ninetales, I knew that I was going to lose my Altaria. So I had to switch out. And this is where I said the misplays matter. Because I had Bastiodon in the back. So if I would have switched out into Bastiodon first, instead of my Blaziken, Bastiodon beats out Alolan Ninetales. And he would have been trapped because he did the switch. I had switch initiative. Right here I could have been farming energy. And this sucks. because if I would have just bought out Bastiodon um instead of my Blaziken, I would have been able to win this match. And this is where I'm saying misplays matter. Um, Again, like I said, I don't want to discredit RP0. He still did. He fought really well, and he did really well in this tournament, and he's a really good battler. So right here, I knew I lost. Actually, no, I didn't know I lost. I'm sorry. I had a feeling I was going to lose, but once I saw a flash cannon, I'm like, well, yeah, it's over. And I was really hoping that Flamethrower. This is where I learned that Flamethrower does not kill Lucario. I thought it did. I honestly thought Flamethrower would kill Lucario. If you can see, Lucario barely lives that Flamethrower, and that sucks because I almost had another Flamethrower in the back. And again, this is where I'm saying if I would have switched instead of Blaziken, Bastiodon, I would have been able to win that match. So here, I knew he was going to lead out with Bronzong again, because Bronzong is a good lead against most of my team. So I decided to switch out my Blaziken for Combusken, because of Ember. So here I was hoping he would waste a shield, thinking it would be Flamethrower, and he did, which was perfect on my part. But here, Altaria is just not good against Bronzong, so I just had to keep using Altaria to try to take out his Bronzong, and you can see Bronzong almost knocks out my Altaria, and I needed to waste a shield against that. So with that, I don't know what he was going to bring out. I just had to waste a shield on him, and I saw that he switched out his Alolan Ninetales. I knew that he most likely had Lucario in the back, and at this point, I just gave up, because I knew that I lost this match. The Alolan Ninetales takes out my Altaria. Even if I take out Lucario with a good amount of health, that Alolan Ninetale wins. My Altaria was at low enough HP that I lost. And this is where I mean that first match, we could have gone to a match to round 3 if I didn't mess up that first round. So this right here, I'm like, well, it's over. I'm not going to waste any shields. I'm not going to really do much. There really isn't anything I could do. So I lost against him. I do want to give my opponent credit. He is good. So our next opponent is Ilboil. The last time I battled Ilboil was all the way in the Kingdom Cup finale all the way in January. Since then, we haven't battled. I haven't really seen him much. And so, it's a little bit nostalgic to be able to battle him again. This time it wasn't in the finals. This was just round 3. And so, checking out his team, he had Charizard, Steelix, Lucario, Altaria, Lapras, and Bastiodon. So seeing that, with Combusken is really good against Lucario and Steelix, but that's about it. It can lose against Charizard, lose against Altaria, lose against Lapras, and lose against Bastiodon. So I'm like, Combusken, not really that good in this game. Then I went to Bastiodon. I'm like, well, Bastiodon gets rid of Altaria, gets rid of Charizard, and with Energy Advantage, can get rid of Lapras. And does decent against Bastiodon. With Energy Advantage, can almost take out Steelix. And if I play it really, really, really well, I can actually beat out Steelix. But lose against Lucario. So I'm like, well, Bastiodon is going to be pretty decent here. Not really sure. Then went to Lapras. Lapras beats out Charizard, beats out Steelix. With Energy Advantage, beats out Altaria. And again, with Energy Advantage, can beat out Bastiodon. So I'm like, well, Lapras is a pretty good choice. Gets rid of most of my opponent's team. And if I have Energy Advantage, gets rid of his team in general. Then I went out to Altaria. Altaria gets rid of Charizard. Gets rid of Lucario. With Energy Advantage, beats Altaria. And with Energy Advantage, beats Lapras. But gets walled by Bastiodon. So I'm like, well, Altaria still does pretty good. It's a really good pivot, and if you notice, Altaria is a really good pivot for most of Kingdom Cup. So I'm like, well, you know what? Altaria should be good. I saw Blaziken. Blaziken beats out Steelix, beats out Lucario, beats out Bastiodon, can kind of beat out Lapras, and does a significant chunk to Altaria, but loses against it. And when I mean significant damage, a significant chunk, Blaziken with Focus Blast actually does about 60% to an Altaria. So I'm like, well, Blaziken does pretty well. So let me see Steelix. I'm like, well, Steelix loses against Charizard, loses against Lucario, loses against Lapras. Can go toe to toe against another Steelix, can kind of go toe to toe against Bastion, but nah, not really that good. So with that, I decided to have, with my first battle, a Lapras, Blaziken, Altaria. So I decided to deal with Lapras in my first battle because Lapras answers most of my opponent's team. So even if it is like a Lucario lead, the Lapras can still do a significant amount of damage to Lucario, where Blaziken and Altaria just gets to don't even have to use an energy, don't even have to use a charge move, can just basically kill it with just the fast moves. Um, then Blaziken, I saw Blaziken gets rid of Lapras's weaknesses, which is Lucario and Bastiodon, as well as Steelix. And then Altaria just covers up Lapras's and Blaziken's weakness, which would be another Altaria or another Lapras. So without further ado, these are the battles. So this is the first game against Ilboil. I lead out with Lapras, he leads out with Lapras. Well, this right here is just basically who gets to the charge move first. And if you notice, I had Surf ready, but he got to his Surf first. And I decided to just hold off to the Surf. Just wait, farm some energy. Because Lapras is just a battle of just wasting time, basically. I didn't want my Lapras to go down, and I'm pretty sure he didn't want his Lapras to go down either. So we were just here, we were just waiting, spamming. And I was waiting for him to switch out. If you see, I wasn't able to switch out my Lapras. When I saw that when he brought out Lucario, I was trying to switch out my Lapras to my Blaziken, but I wasn't able to, which sucks. So I lost out my Lapras. I'm like, oh, alright, well, kind of glitched me out, but whatever. Let me just keep battling. So I decided to switch out my Blaziken to Altaria, just so my Altaria can eat the Surf, and I don't have to waste a shield. Because I knew that whatever he had in the back, Blaziken should be able to take care of. And I was right. Good thing I did save my Blaziken, because if I didn't save it, this Steelix would have been able to easily beat me. So, with Altaria, I didn't want to waste any shields, because I knew Blaziken had to. I knew I had to save a shield for Blaziken against his Steelix. And I'm really happy that he didn't waste any shields, because if he would have wasted a shield on the Steelix against one of my fast moves, one of my charge moves on my Altaria, he would have actually been able to win this. But since he didn't, I was able to do enough damage where my Blaziken can just come in, counter 2 times, and kill off his Steelix. Which I am very happy that happened. It is a misplay by his part. Hopefully he learns that sometimes you do need to shield even when you think you'll win, because if your opponent saves something that can counter you, you want to save a shield. I mean, you want to waste a shield to make sure you have enough HP to get rid of that counter. So with this second game, I decided to lead out with Altaria, and I kept Blaziken and Lapras in the back. Because again, like I said, Blaziken and Lapras covers Altaria, Blaziken, and Lapras cover each other's weaknesses. So I decided to lead out with Altaria, because I'm like, well, whatever he leads out, he's going to think I'm going to lead out with Lapras again. So I'm going to lead out with Altaria, because Altaria beats out the Lapras' counter, which is most likely Lucario, which I predicted correctly. So I lead out with Altaria, he leads out with Lucario, and I basically knew that I won this matchup. I don't mean like the whole entire matchup, I knew I won this exchange between the Altaria and the Lucario. So I decided to waste a shield here, because I knew that whatever next move was going to do, it was going to kill me. And I decided to just save my energy, because I knew I was about to kill it before it was killing me. So I decided to just spam Dragon Pulse. It's a Sky Attack, because I was thinking whatever comes out, my Dragon Pulse should do more damage. So he brings out Steelix, And I'm thinking, Blaziken and Lapras both answer Steelix. Which one would be better? So I decided to go out with Lapras because I remember the things in the back, um, the Blaziken can take care of. So I decided to wait until he switched, and he did. So I have my Blaziken against his Lapras. Blaziken can beat his Lapras. Um, can almost beat his Lapras, actually, as you can see. But I knew that conserving my Lapras was the best play because I knew my Blaziken was going to do it was either going to kill off his Lapras or be able to do enough damage where Lapras would go down against my own Lapras. And I was right. And so then my Lapras beats out his Steelix because Lapras beats out Steelix. And that's the end of the game. So my next opponent is K Jillian. I've never seen this person. I've never battled this person, so I have no idea what to expect. So even though, yeah, I was feeling really bad at this point in the tournament, I'm like, well, let me keep going. All my friends were actually telling me to just leave the tournament, go home and feel better, but this was my first Kingdom Cup and I really didn't want to leave. I want to see it through. So I'm just like, you know what? Let me just focus my mind on this. And even though I'm trying my best not to die, let me just keep going and let me keep battling. So this is K's team, and I admire this guy because he just used things really out of left field. Like, I have no idea what to expect from this. While these aren't the best choices for Kingdom Cup, I decided to say, what the hell? Let me go. So he has a Metagross, a Lone Sandslash, an Abomasnow, a Typhlosion, a Alolan Marowak, and an Altaria. So seeing his team, I see Combusken gets rid of Metagross, gets rid of a Alolan Sandslash, gets rid of Abomasnow easily. Ember is 4x against a Alolan Sandslash, so I'm pretty sure like 5 Embers and Sandslash is down. 5 Embers, Abomasnow is down. Maybe 6 or 7 Embers and Metagross is down. Because my Combusken had a Rock Slide, it takes down Typhlosion, Alolan Marowak, and Altaria. So that's why I thought, I'm like, alright, Combusken is very good against my opponent. So I was thinking about bringing it. Bastiodon does well against Abomasnow, does well against Typhlosion, does well against Alolan Marowak, and does well against Altaria. Does cover up Combusken's weakness, but I'm like, well, if Alolan Sandslash has Bulldoze, it's able to take me down, and Blast Burn can take out Bastiodon, and Alolan Marowak with Bone Club can kind of take out Bastiodon. So I'm like, well, Bastiodon does well, but I don't really know yet. So Bastiodon was in my head when I was going. Then I went on to Lapras. So Lapras does well against Alolan Sandslash, beats out Typhlosion, beats out Alolan Marowak, and, like I keep saying, Energy Advantage, beats out Altaria. Because with Energy Advantage, I can have an Ice Beam and take down the Altaria. So I'm like, well, Lapras is pretty good, and also does decent against Metagross, because I'm able to get Surf before he's able to get Meteor Mash. So I'm like, well, Lapras is good here. Then I went on to Altaria. Well, Metagross walls Altaria, Alolan Sandslash beats out Altaria, and if it's Powder Snow, Abomasnow beats out Altaria. Well, Altaria does do good against Typhlosion, Alolan Marowak, and would need an Energy Advantage to take down Altaria. Altaria was, I was thinking about it, could do well. Then I went on to Blaziken. Blaziken gets rid of Alolan Sandslash, gets rid of Abomasnow, goes toe-to-toe with Typhlosion, loses against Alolan Marowak, loses against Altaria, and can kind of go toe-to-toe with Metagross. So I'm like, well, Blaziken might be pretty good. And then I had Steelix. And, well, again, the reason I didn't bring in Steelix was Typhlosion and Alolan Marowak can both get rid of Steelix. So I'm like, well, Steelix may not be good for this. And if Metagross had Earthquake, Steelix can kind of lose. He was able to get Earthquake fast enough. So with my first battle against K, I decided to bring Blaziken, Lapras, and Combusken because I see that Blaziken gets rid of Alone Sandslash, Abomasnow, and with energy advantage, um, can get rid of the Metagross and the Typhlosion. Lapras answers Blaziken's weaknesses, which is Alone Marowak and the Altaria, and the it can easily get rid of Typhlosion, can easily get rid of Metagross. The only thing I needed to make sure was that Abomasnow would faint. So with Blaziken, as long as I get rid of Abomasnow, Lapras can come in and have a field day. And then I decided to bring in Combusken because, like I said, Combusken with Ember gets rid of Sandslash, gets rid of Abomasnow, gets rid of Metagross. So that right there, with just my fast move, no charge move used, I get rid of half of his team. And because I got rid of half of his team with just my fast move, my charge moves, I was able to either have 2 Rock Slides or 1.5 Rock Slides. Which means Rock Slide gets rid of Typhlosion, uh, gets rid of Alolan Marowak, and can almost knock out the Altaria. I mean, well, Rock Slide can almost knock out Alolan Marowak and almost knock out Altaria. So that right there is perfect. So I'm like, well, Combusken, very, very good against this team. And with my second battle, I decide to also do the same 3 teams: Lapras, Blaziken, and Combusken. Um, the second one, I decided to lead out with Lapras because I was expecting him to thinking I was going to lead out with Blaziken. And well, you guys will see in the battles. So this is my first battle against K. Like I said, I lead out with Blaziken, and I had Lapras in the back and Combusken in the back. Um, I knew that basically those 3 are able to answer almost anything he brings out. Especially Blaziken lead answers most of his teams. So I deal with Blaziken, he does have a low Marowak, and I'm like, well, this sucks. My Blaziken loses against a low Marowak. So I'm like, you know what? Let me keep using Blaziken until I have enough for my charge moves. Just farm energy. And let me switch out to my Lapras against his low Marowak. I kind of messed up because I didn't shield when I should have. Because if you see, my Lapras just falls from basically a Shadow Ball. Because it was Rock Smash Shadow Ball. So, good thing I farmed up energy because I was able to do enough damage where basically my Blaziken just comes in and gets rid of his Alolan Marowak. And he wasted both of his shields already. So I'm like, well, this is basically going to be a free win for me because since I still have a shield left, I can shield whenever I want. And I'm able to just take out the rest of his team. And I actually thought I knocked out the Alolan Marowak. So when he came out with the Alolan Marowak, I'm like, wait, what? I thought I knocked out everything. But I was able to just wrap up that game pretty fast since Combusken and Blaziken are basically able to get rid of most of his team. And so we go on to the second battle, and this is where I mean that he thought I was going to lead out with Blaziken again, because I led out perfectly with my Lapras against his Typhlosion. And this is so it was Lapras versus against Altaria. I knew he was going to shield that first time, which he was expecting me to have Surf again, and this is where people don't count correctly. Because since I faked him out with that Surf, he thought I was going to use Surf again, but I decided to wait until I have Ice Beam. And so my Lapras is able to take out his Altaria. And I saw that he had, when I saw that he brought out Alolan Sandslash, and I knew he had Typhlosion in the back, I'm like, well, basically, I'm done. My Combusken is able to get rid of both of his team. Is able to get rid of the Alolan Sandslash just by Ember, and is able to get rid of this Typhlosion with just Rock Slide. So with that, I take the second game, and that's it. So this is the final battle My final battle was against Medic Man. I forgot to actually take a screenshot of this team when it was me when we were paired up. So I had to take a screenshot like this before we conclude the tournament. His team was Skarmory, Entei, Lapras, Alolan Ninetales, Aggron, and Dragonair. Um, I saw his team and I'm like, wow, this is actually very unique. But Bastiodon has a field day against his team. So let me go down the row. So I had Combusken. Combusken does not really that good against his team. Loses against Dragonair, loses against Alolan Ninetales, loses against Aggron, loses against Lapras, loses against Entei, loses against Skarmory. So I'm like, well, I'm not at all going to bring in my Combusken. Combusken is just going to lose. Then next was Bastiodon. And I saw his team and I'm like, Bastiodon beats Skarmory, beats Entei, beats Lapras, well, 50-50 on the Lapras, beats Alolan Ninetales, and kind of does decent against Dragonair, even with Dragonair having Aqua Tail. So I'm like, well, Bastion is definitely coming on my team because it beats out most of his team. Next was Altaria. Altaria beats out Dragonair, beats out Entei, and beats out Lapras. Loses against Alolan Ninetales, loses against Aggron, and loses against Skarmory. But I decided, I'm like, well, if I'm bringing Bastiodon, Lapras gets rid of what Bastiodon cannot defeat, which is the Lapras and the Dragonair. Next was the Blaziken. And Blaziken does well against Entei, kind of goes a little bit well against Lapras. Definitely beats Aggron, and gets defeated by Dragonair. And if you saw from the first game, loses against Alolan Ninetales. And it also loses against Skarmory. So I'm like, well, Blaziken really won't be that good. Then it was Steelix. Steelix actually does pretty well against his team. Can get rid of Aggron and Dragonair, but that's about it. Not really do that significantly well. Can actually beat out Skarmory, but lose against Entei and lose against Lapras and lose against Alolan Ninetales. And then I had Lapras. I saw Lapras gets rid of Entei, gets rid of Aggron, gets rid of Alolan Ninetales, gets rid of, well, Lapras is basically knock each other out, does well against Skarmory, and can kind of go toe-to-toe with Dragonair, because Dragonair is going to have most likely Aqua Tail and Wrap if they decide to invest in a second move, but then Ice Beam gets to get rid of Dragonair. So, my first battle against him, I lead out Lapras, Bastiodon. I have Lapras, Bastiodon, and Altaria, and I lead out with Lapras, knowing Lapras does well, is the best lead against all of his team. Then I have Bastiodon to cover up Lapras' weaknesses, which would be the Entei and another Lapras, and can basically get rid of Alolan Ninetales. Like I said, actually Bastiodon gets rid of most of his team, so I knew Bastiodon was going to come in. And Altaria is just a pivot. Well, not really a pivot, but Altaria is just there to basically just do the damage it needs to do against the Dragonair. And so the second game we did, I brought out Lapras, Bastiodon, and Blaziken. Because Blaziken gets rid of his Aggron that I had a feeling he might bring. Again, I decided to leave again with Lapras because I knew Lapras was, again, like I said, the best lead against his team. And so we'll see how the battles went. So this is our first battle with Medic Man. I led with Lapras. He leads out with Lapras. And I knew that this was just basically a stall fest. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm leaving my Lapras. He decided to use Lapras. No point in wasting shields. So it's just a Lapras v Lapras. These matches are really boring when it's a Lapras versus Lapras. And I see that my Lapras is actually able to slightly do more damage than his Lapras. So I'm like, well, my Lapras might be able to almost knock out his Lapras. Since he was able to get Surf off first than me, I knew that he was going to basically win this matchup. But I'm like, you know what? Let me conserve Lapras, just in case, and let me bring out Bastiodon. So you can see Surf did like a lot less than I thought. So So I bring out Bastiodon, knowing that Bastiodon is able to answer most of his team, and I saw that it's Entei against my Bastiodon. So I'm like, there's no point in using my charge move. Might as well just farm up energy and just basically knock him out with just my fast move. And I decided to shield because I knew whatever Entei had was either knocking out my Bastiodon or almost knocking out my Bastiodon. And I see that his last Pokemon was Skarmory, and I'm like, well, this is perfect. Bastiodon beats Skarmory. So I decided to just stay there and just farm away and not even shield, because even if he had Flash Cannon, let's say he did have Flash Cannon, that would have knocked out my Bastiodon, which I wouldn't care because I have Skarmory in the back, and Skarmory beats out. I had Lapras in the back, and Lapras beats out Skarmory. I also had the Altaria in the back as well, and I knew at this point his Skarmory was low enough that Altaria would just be able to win. But there was no need. My Lapras was able to take out his Skarmory. So I take the first game. And so we go on to the last game. So this is the last game of the night. And again, I decided to lead out Lapras again, because Lapras is the best lead. And I saw he led out with Skarmory, and I'm like, well, this is fun. My Lapras is going to be able to beat out his Skarmory. Either he's going to have to waste a shield now, or take a Surf, which is better for me. And I have no reason to I have no reason to shield. Might as well just save my shields and let him do enough damage to my Lapras and actually knock out my Lapras. Here I was hoping he would waste a shield, which he did, which is perfect, because now I just get to just use my Lapras. And I'm like, well, there's no really point in letting my Lapras die. Might as well waste a shield to conserve Lapras in the back. Bring out my Bastiodon. He brings out my Bastiodon, just knocks out his Skarmory. My Bastiodon is going against his Entei. And again, I just did the same thing I did the first game. Farm up energy and use my shield, because I knew this overheat would almost kill me. And then his last Pokemon was Alolan Ninetales. I'm like, well, this is perfect. And Bastiodon is able to defeat Alolan Ninetales, and I'm healthy enough that I don't really care. And because since I farmed up enough energy, I knew that I was going to knock him out. And that is the second game. It was, again, Bastiodon. I knew Bastiodon was going to be perfect for him. And so that's why Bastiodon won. Thank you for watching this very long video. Hopefully, by having me discuss my team and the reasons for choosing my Pokemon can help you all in deciding what Pokemon to use for your next battles and cups. And letting you all know what Pokemon to use against my opponents, as well as discussing my team selections and reasons behind what I use against them, can help you out in your future. Thank you all again for watching, and for my community for helping not only me out by practicing and brainstorming on teams and Pokemon, but for everyone else that competed in our cup. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, as there'll be more battles on the way. Next stop, #1 in the world.